Okay, so our currencies throughout the world are going to become extinct in 2023. We're going to talk about that and what you should be doing right now. So let's get started.
No! God, please, no!
This is the Hey Ed YouTube channel, and I am your host, moderator, and all-around nice guy, Edward Anderson. And today we're going to be talking about cash, okay, and how it's going to be disappearing pretty soon. We are heading into a brave new world. I don't know whether I would call it brave. It's a new world. And I want to make sure that everyone is aware of this and start preparing for it. Let's talk about the consequences of this. Now, for those of you who have not been paying attention and you're hearing about this for the first time, the Federal Reserve has developed a little thing called a CBDC. That's an acronym for Central Bank Digital Currency. And it's not just our Federal Reserve. Every central bank around the world has created their own digital currency. There are a lot of reasons why they want us to move toward a digital currency, and none of it is good. Now, you have to understand that the digital currency that these central banks are talking about is not the same as Bitcoin. Okay, there are different kinds of things. They're using the same name, right? A digital currency, but they're not the same animal. The two major differences between a central bank digital currency, a CBDC, and Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is decentralized, which means there's no one person or entity controlling it. It's out there, it's on the blockchain, and it is decentralized, and it's not programmable. The algorithm, the coding in Bitcoin is immutable. That means it cannot be changed. 21 million Bitcoins were created, and that's it. That's all there will ever be. Now, the CBDCs, however, they are not decentralized. They are centralized, controlled by the Federal Reserve. And more insidiously, they are programmable, which means they can write into the code anything they want in terms of controlling your buying habits, your buying behavior. They can literally decide, oh, this person is buying too many hamburgers, or this person is contributing to a political party that we don't approve of. They can cut you off because they're going to control that little wallet that they end up giving you for spending your digital currency. This is about control, okay? And this should anger you. First of all, it should scare you, and it should anger you. And how far along are they? Well, it's already been developed. MIT developed it. They tested it. It's good to go. Right now, the top 5 major banks right now are participating in a little program to test these CBDCs with other central banks. So basically, they're just talking with their fellow IT people, different banks, making sure that all the different CBDCs out there in the world, kind of mesh. They kind of understand each other. It's all IT stuff, right? So that little experiment is supposed to be finishing up around the end of January of 2023. So right now you might be saying, well, I just won't go for the CBDC. Well, you might not have a choice. Now I'm going to give you some solutions here toward the end of this video. So make sure you please stick around for that. But for the most part, the government is going to take steps to force you onto the CBDC. So, I mean, right now in Nigeria, of all places, their central bank is doing an experiment with their CBDCs. And trust me, all the other central banks around the world are watching this experiment going on in Nigeria. In fact, I would not be surprised if all of these central bankers got together and say, okay, Nigeria, you're kind of like out in the weeds there. Why don't you try it first and let's see how it goes so we can anticipate possible solutions. My guess is they want to see what the social reaction is going to be to this. Are there going to be riots in the street? How much resistance is there going to be by society? Now, Nigeria is actually a pretty good test case because Nigeria is a very cash-driven society. They don't have very many debit cards or credit cards. People do everything in cash, all right? I think it's something like 90% of the cash in Nigeria are not held inside the banks. People have it in their hand. And governments don't like that because when you have cash, you can do transactions anonymously, right? The government don't like that. They want to know exactly what you're spending your money on. That's one of the big points about these CBDCs. Anyway, so Nigeria is in the process right now of trying to convince their people to go on to their CBDC. And how are they doing it? Well, right now what they're doing is they're limiting how much money you can take out of the bank. If you go to your ATM, you can only pull out a maximum of the equivalent of $45 US out of your bank account. That's it. This is their way of forcing you to turn toward their digital currencies if you want to do any kind of transaction. So we're going to see what the social unrest might look like. Maybe there won't be any. Maybe people will, adopt it, with no issues. But this is, trust me, this is what they really want to know. The other central bankers is what kind of social unrest is going to be created by all of this. But there are ways for all these central banks, including the Fed, to coerce you onto these CBDCs. Things like what Nigeria is doing, saying, okay, you're only going to be allowed to take a little bit of money out of your bank. Everything else you have to use is a digital currency for. Okay, I think that absolutely is going to happen here. But the real big way that they're going to entice people onto CBDCs is by giving away what they call free money. They'll say something like, okay, so for every $1 that you turn in, we'll give you 2 digital dollars. And people say, oh, wow, free money. I'm going to double my money overnight. And people are going to fall for it. But as soon as you get on that card, that's it. They got you. Okay. And they got you for life. And probably the most insidious way that they're going to convince people to move over to CBDCs is that they're going to go for the low-hanging fruit first, which means they're going to go to the poorest people in our society and tell them something like this. You know what? If you sign up for the CBDC, we will give you $1,000 free dollars or something like that, right? And if you're a struggling person living hand to mouth, yeah, you probably go for that, right? Hey, free money. Okay, so it's kind of like the drug dealer, right? The first one is free. Now, my guess is that cash is still going to be around for a couple of years, a few years, because there's so much cash out there and people are so used to it, they're not going to want to do it all at once because that'll create havoc. That'll create a lot of social unrest. My guess is this will be a process over a few years, but it'll be a pretty short span. But this is the end game for all of these central banks. They want everyone on their digital currencies that they can control. If they don't like you for whatever reason, they just turn off your dollars. They just turn off your money. And the reason why I use 2023 in my thumbnail is because that is when it's coming. It's coming next year. And I'm not guessing at it. I'm not speculating. This is not just some guy on YouTube, coming up with a conspiracy theory. No, the Federal Reserve said it themselves. They announced that it is coming in 2023. So it is coming next year. Now, please, you have to do whatever you can to resist this. Now, it might be something that you cannot completely avoid, but you can take steps to minimize the effect. The first thing you can do is exit the traditional financial system as much as possible right now. What I mean by that is get your money out of your banks right now. Now, what I do, I always keep 2 or 3 months worth of bill paying in my banks, just for convenience, because we are still in a fiat-based, society. So I just keep 2 or 3 months there worth of bill paying in my banks. Everything else I get out of the bank. And then what do I do with that cash? Gold and silver. I convert it into gold and silver, which is what you should absolutely be doing. Now, you're saying, Ed, gold and silver, that's for rich people. Listen, gold and silver is the only actual money in the real world. Your fiat currency, they're losing value every day. That's called inflation, right? You're losing buying power every single day with the fiat currency that you're sitting on. Gold and silver will preserve your buying power. And you're not buying anything. When you get a piece of gold or a piece of silver, all you're doing is moving your assets from a really bad asset class into a solid one. So don't think of it as buying gold and silver. You're just moving it from one asset to another. And you can always convert these back into cash if you want. It's gold and silver. This is, it's the most liquid commodity you can think of. Now, I do have a program that I recommend for this. It's called 7K Metals, and I'll have a link in the description below for it. And I've done videos on 7K Metals that you should watch. That is a spectacular program. You're not going to do better than 7K Metals. Besides being a vehicle for acquiring your gold and silver, it actually has a way for you to make a passive income stream on it if you want to do a little team building, which is not that hard to do. Okay, and the third thing you really have to do is you have to establish streams of passive recurring income. And that's what we do in the Hey Ed group, right? In the Hey Ed group, which is the WhatsApp group, we are a group of people seeking our personal freedoms, seeking our sovereignty, preserving our liberties, primarily through finding streams of passive recurring income. And I would love to share those ideas with you. So my email will be in the description below. Shoot me an email. Tell me you would like to join the group, or maybe we can talk on the phone or via Zoom about your situation. But at the very least, I want you to be forewarned about what is coming here with the CBDCs. Know that it's coming, and hopefully you start taking steps to preserve your wealth and to establish streams of passive recurring income. Look, whether you join my group or you do something else, just please start taking steps. We have Christmas coming up here. This is the time of year to do some reflection and try to find ways to improve your life for the upcoming year. And I've got some ideas for you, so I hope you reach out to me. That's it for today. Please give me a like, please subscribe, and please give me a comment. Edward Anderson signing out.
Copy that.